Today, we're diving into a really fascinating puzzle about happiness. We all think we know how to spot it, how to measure it. But what happens when one of the most common signals for happiness suddenly starts pointing in the exact opposite direction?
Let's start with the basic question. If you see an employee who's smiling, who seems amused by things, is that person a happy employee? It seems like a no-brainer, right? Of course they are. Laughter, amusement, those have always been the go-to signs of well-being.
And this isn't just a hunch. For decades, entire organizations have built their well-being programs around this one core idea. The more people agree they're amused, the better the culture must be. It's been the gold standard for measuring happiness. But what if the data tells a completely different story? And that brings us to a single contradictory clue. It was hidden deep inside a huge global survey, and this one little data point challenges everything we thought we knew about happiness for a very specific and actually growing part of the population. This is it, negative 0.0603. It really doesn't look like much, does it? But this number, this tiny number, represents a huge shift. You could say it's a crack in the very foundation of how we measure well-being. So what on earth does it mean?
Okay, so let's unpack this thing. This number comes from the massive Oxford Happiness Survey, and it shows a real connection, but it's a negative one. It's a negative correlation between people who strongly agree with the statement, "I find most things amusing," and their alignment with something called the green vMEME value system. And this isn't a fluke. The data is solid. We're talking over 1,700 people across 81 countries. It's statistically significant. Put simply, it means that as this specific value system gets stronger in a person, their tendency to signal happiness by being amused actually goes down.
So what is this green vMEME? Well, it comes from a model called spiral dynamics, which helps us understand how human values evolve. The easiest way to think about the green value system as a mindset that puts a huge premium on community, on empathy, and, most importantly, on relational authenticity. It's all about genuine human connection over, say, individual achievement.
And this is where the real conflict comes into view. For people operating from this green mindset, there's a huge shift away from what you might call performative positivity and towards something much, much deeper.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. On the one hand, you have the old way of thinking, performative positivity, saying I find things amusing is the key signal that you're happy. But for the green value system, that signal totally changes. It becomes about relational authenticity. For them, well-being isn't about appearing cheerful, it's about feeling genuinely connected and truly understood. This quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. It's not that people are becoming less happy, it's that the way they signal happiness is changing. For someone with this mindset, being pushed to show surface cheer when what they really crave is a genuine connection, well, that feels inauthentic. And that inauthenticity actually signals a lack of well-being.
And what's really brilliant here is that green isn't some weird outlier. It's just part of a much bigger pattern. This table shows that every single value system attributes happiness to something different. For someone with a blue mindset, for example, happiness isn't an emotion. It's knowing you've done your duty. For an orange mindset, it's about feeling capable and confident. We assume happiness is this universal thing, but this data shows us that it gets translated completely differently depending on our core values.
So let's bring this back to the real world. What happens when a company or any organization gets this translation wrong? What are the consequences when leaders are still looking for surface-level amusement in a culture that now values deep authenticity?
Well, the fallout is pretty bad. Your well-being programs that are designed to boost amusement, they completely backfire. They end up rewarding inauthentic behavior. Team cohesion starts to fray because people feel this pressure to perform happiness instead of actually connecting with each other. And pretty soon, you start losing great people because they feel completely misunderstood.
And it's a predictable downward spiral. It's like a domino effect. It starts with step 1. You enforce this idea of positivity. That directly causes step 2. Authenticity starts to erode. From there, relationships begin to fragment, the culture itself starts to dissolve, and then, the final step, the very happiness metrics you were relying on become totally useless. You're flying blind.
Okay, so this is obviously a really complex hidden dynamic. How could anyone possibly keep track of it? Well, this is where some amazing new tools come into play. Tools designed specifically to navigate this kind of psychological complexity at a massive scale. The answer lies in a really cool trend called AI vibe coding. The best way to think about it is like having a conversation with your data. Instead of needing to be a master coder, you can just tell an AI, in plain English, what you're looking for. The AI then writes all the complex code for you and builds the application you need.
This is a total game changer. It means you don't have to be a data scientist to ask really deep, important questions. You can just ask the machine, like you'd ask a research assistant, hey, show me the happiness patterns for the green stage in that big Oxford survey. And boom, it can generate the analysis and visualizations for you, revealing all these hidden connections almost instantly.
And here's what that can actually look like. This is the SD Navigator, an interface built with this exact AI vibe coding method. Its entire purpose is to make the invisible visible. It takes all of those complex, soft human factors we've been talking about, fear, trust, empathy, values, and it quantifies them. It organizes all that data into a clear, interactive dashboard, basically turning the messy psychology of an organization into a system you can actually manage and even predict.
And the ultimate goal here, as the source material says, is to build a decision-making model that understands how things like fear, trust, and empathy actually work. So this isn't just about getting a snapshot of where things are today. It's about creating a dynamic, predictive engine. It lets you see how any decision, a new policy, an initiative, will actually ripple through the complex system of human values before you even make it.
Which leaves us with one final big question. As more and more of our world shifts towards valuing authenticity, what breaks when our systems of measurement in our companies, in our communities, even in our own lives fail to make that same shift? What are we missing when we're busy looking for a smile when we should be looking for a genuine connection?